first is retiring at 55 with $1 million. And we've got to take a couple assumptions if we're doing these strategies. The first assumption is we're going to use $55,000 as our annual expenses. Now, the average annual income in America today has actually gone up. It's about $65,000. So we're going to back off about $10,000 of that to say our average annual expenses are $55,000. We're going to retire at 55. We're going to claim Social Security at 67 and at 62. We're going to see how that affects our retirement income strategy and our $1 million that's in our retirement investment. So let's look at this, and then we're going to do two more strategies right after this. So the first, claiming Social Security at 67. Remember, we've got $1 million in retirement savings. So we're 55 years old. Our annual expenses are $55,000 a year, which comes to $4,583 a month. Now, we've got to do this for 12 years. So we've got to take that $4,500 out of our retirement investments for 12 years. Now, keep in mind, there could be sequence of return risk. There could be recessions, and there could be bull markets. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a geometric return of 6%. When we're doing calculations, when we're doing projections, especially on the board, this is just the base case, we're going to use a geometric return, which basically means it's going to be 6% every year. Now, the stock market has averaged about 10% since 1950. It's 8% with inflation. And since early 1900s, it's averaged around 6.5% with inflation. So we can say 6.5% to 8% is a good projection for this retirement strategy. Now, we're going to use 3% as our inflation rate. And remember, we're going to take Social Security at 67 of $2,800. So between ages of 55 and 67, our $1 million earning 6% but withdrawing $4,500 a month goes from $1 million in retirement savings down to $711,000 in retirement savings. At 67, we kick on Social Security of $2,800, and then we're able to kind of minimize our expenses a little bit, our distribution coming out of our retirement investments. But essentially, using the calculator and software, we're out of money at 81. So if we retire at 55 with $1 million and $55,000 in annual expenses, we're out of money at 81 years old. All right, so now we think about, what if we claim Social Security at 62? What if we take some pressure off of our withdrawal that's coming out of our retirement investments? By claiming Social Security earlier, now we've got a pension check coming in, basically, and we're able to say, okay, we don't need as much coming out of our retirement investments because we've claimed Social Security earlier. So we've got $1 million in retirement savings. All the other components are still the same. 6% rate of return, 3% inflation rate, $4,500 is coming out. So between 55 and 62, we're taking out $4,500 a month. Our $1 million goes to $901,575. Because remember, there's not as much time that we're pulling out that $4,500. So at 62, we've got $901,000, and we start taking Social Security of $1,960. Remember, Social Security at full retirement age is $2,800, but 70% of $2,800 is $1,960. So if you claim Social Security early, you have to remember you're going to get less of a check. So it's kind of this checks and balances. Do I take less of a check to let my retirement investments continue to grow, or do I delay Social Security using my retirement investment accounts as income so I get a bigger pension check? And there's a lot of different factors that go into that. Make sure you contact me to do a Social Security maximization schedule for you. But whether you're single, whether you're married, what are the ages of the spouses, how much you have in retirement assets, there's a lot of different factors that go into this. So we take Social Security at 62, by age 82, we're out of money. So essentially, claiming Social Security at 62, we get one extra year of retirement income. So there's not a huge difference. So when I do this as a financial advisor, when I look at this and I see that there's not a big difference in the claiming strategies, then I start thinking about some of the other things that we can adjust. One, can we work longer? And two, can we lower our expenses? So let's go through that real quick. All right, we've already looked at claiming Social Security at 62 and 67, and both of those strategies, our money, our retirement income runs out in our early 80s. So we need to adjust two factors. The first factor we're going to look at is working longer, so continuing to work, continuing to contribute to our 401k and get a match. And then the second factor is we're going to do a deep dive into the budget of our retirement income, and we're going to ask ourselves, can we lower our retirement expenses so we can retire at 55 or retire early? So let's look at the first scenario. This is working longer. So we're going to work to age 60. We're going to continue to invest in our 401k, and we're going to continue to get the match. So we had $1 million in retirement savings at 55. Now at 60, we've got $1,389,000. Remember, this is a $65,000 average salary. So it's just compound interest at its best. Now at 60, our monthly expenses are $5,447. Remember, at 55, they were $4,583. Now there's inflation. So at 60, our expenses are $5,447. We're going to take Social Security at 67 at $2,800. 6% is our rate of return on the money in the market, and 3% is our inflation rate on our monthly expenses. So at 67, 7 years of a distribution coming out of our retirement investment accounts, we'd have $1,444,000, and then we'd kick on Social Security. Keep in mind that $2,800 at 67, it does have a COLA increase on it once we kick that in. From $1,444,000 with our monthly expenses, we're out of retirement income at 99. It's a pretty good scenario. 99 years old, we're out of money. I'll take that when we're doing retirement planning. Now, the second strategy, we've got $1 million. We want to retire at 55. We don't want to work that 5 extra years. What can we do? Well, we can lower our expenses. So in the first two strategies, our expenses were $4,583. What if we took $6,000 annually off the table? So we lowered our monthly expenses to $4,000 from $4,583. So all the components are still the same. Retiring at 55, 6% rate of return, 3% inflation, claiming Social Security at 67. From $1 million, when we start claiming Social Security, we'd have $913,000. So 12 years, we go down about, what's that, $80,000-ish, and we're out of money at 91. That's actually a really good scenario. We've now made it to our early 90s. And keep in mind that your spending in retirement is going to decrease automatically over time. It's kind of like an upside down bell curve when you get into retirement. You spend more as you go into it, right? And then as you're kind of in there, it decreases. But how it works is when you get to your late 80s, early 90s, it starts to increase a little bit because of medical expenses. But in these scenarios, I feel really good getting us into our 90s. So I hope this has helped. Can I retire with $1 million? God bless. Bye-bye.